Hi, it's Michael Dermer, and we're talking now in this lesson about how do you attract talent. You know, as a young company, the resources you bring in are critical, so how do you go about doing that the right way? So when you're a young company, how do you actually attract talent? You know, remember, a lot of times you're not going to be paying people market salaries. You're going to be asking them to join your venture, oftentimes from working for a larger company or coming from another place in which they're earning what the market will pay them. So a lot of times they've got to join your company for different reasons, right? So what are those different reasons and how do you go about attracting great talent, right? First is show them that you're doing something big, right? If you're doing something that's big and compelling, there are a lot of people that are going to be excited about doing that. Remember, a lot of folks in corporate America these days are itching to start their own idea. And if they lock onto something of yours, it can really give them a compelling reason to join you. Think about my old company, rewarding people for being healthy. I mean, we really thought that we could fix the United States healthcare system by rewarding people. And we had really, really talented people join us just because they wanted to be a part of that mission. Next is, you really want to be able to articulate the long-term goals of your company, right? So if you go in and you say, okay, you know, I really want to open one jewelry stand, right? The potential of that business, while what may be very exciting and lucrative for somebody, may not be that exciting for somebody that's looking for a greater growth opportunity. So when you talk about not just what your business is going to do today, but your long-term goals for the business, it might be to go public. It might be to raise $10 million. It might be to put your name on the earth as the company that was the first to do X, right? Articulating those long-term goals of the company can really get people excited and energized about joining your organization. Next is the opportunity to provide a new growth opportunity. You know, when people work in corporate America, a lot of times their job descriptions are focused. They're limited to a certain number of behaviors, right? And when you think about a startup or an entrepreneurial venture, there's lots to do. You may have people that have never managed folks before. You may have had people that worked in one element of technology, but at some point really want to grow into a director of technology, right? You're giving them new growth opportunities that allows them to extend their skills beyond where they are today. Now, obviously when you attract talent, you want to have people that already have skills. But for example, you might have a really strong technologist that's never really been involved in the business side, and they want to get to do that. Those are opportunities that you can provide that oftentimes are harder to find in large companies. Next is offering equity. You know, part of joining a company is not just to earn dollars, but it's to be part of realizing financially the upside of the business. So you can bring people in and sometimes they will forego elements of salary in exchange for equity, so they know if they're able to contribute to the growth of a business that ultimately has some kind of liquidity event like a merger or a buyout or a big financing or an IPO, that they will share in that upside. Next is company values. Company values can differentiate you from another company. If you have a certain set of values that really bring to life uniquely how you're going to do something, like imagine your company values were, we're going to enrich the lives of mothers everywhere. I mean, think about that. Think about if you could actually do that. Wouldn't it be exciting to be a part of that? So your company values aren't just how your employees are going to behave, but it actually may people think about, hey, wow, I can actually join a company whose values are really in line with the things that I think are important in life. Another thing that you can do, and sometimes you have to do, is to take away the fear of failure. Whenever people hear startup, right, a lot of times they think about risk. And it's very fair when people have bills to pay and families to take care of, right, that they fear some of this risk that goes up with a new venture or an entrepreneurial venture. So one of the things you can do is give them information that takes away that fear, right? Do you have financial backers, right, that have agreed to back the company? Do you have customer relationships that already exist? Do you have capabilities from your past life, right, that ultimately give people faith that that fear of failure can go away or at least be toned down a little bit? Because people have to be able to get over that to make the leap into the entrepreneurial world. Next is, maybe you can actually mold the job to the person that you're talking to, right? When you walk into a big company, 9 times out of 10, they're not creating a job for you. But a lot of times you can actually create a job for somebody if you really think they're talented enough, but maybe you can't afford them. For example, flexible working hours, right? Maybe they're a stay-at-home mom that has tons of talent that came out of corporate America, and you can structure a job for them that where they work 3 days a week, or they only work 6 hours a day as opposed to a full day, right? So you have the opportunity to maybe mold the job to them so they can say, wow, I can actually be a part of this and not make the full-time commitment that I can't make. So think about that. I also mentioned a minute ago the idea of flexible hours, and the flexibility on hours and where you work can actually be a real big benefit to folks. I mean, think about the idea that you had flexibility around when you could work and flexibility around where you could work as part of your daily life. I know at my old company, we used to have a couple of people that used to commute up and down the New Jersey Turnpike in New Jersey, and sitting in traffic, right, at 8 or 9 in the morning, right, would eat an hour and a half of their day. The same thing is true if you think about on the West Coast in LA here in the United States, sitting on the freeway and stuck in traffic. So what we did was we made it more flexible. We said, okay, for you employees, you're going to actually come into the office at 10 o'clock in the morning. So they could jump in their car at 9, and instead of being in a car for an hour and a half, could be in a car for a half hour, right? Try to be flexible with these folks. Remember, you're trying to attract them to your organization. They likely can go get market salaries elsewhere, right? So think about what you can do to actually be flexible with time and flexible with where they work to make it a little bit easier for them. These are just a couple of the techniques you can use to try to attract talent. Remember, a lot of these folks are hard to attract because they're talented. And you as an entrepreneur can't just show up and say, hey, come work for us. You might not be as formed as you want to be. You might not have as much money behind your company as you want to be. But again, what we don't lack as entrepreneurs is the ability to think differently. Be creative with some of these techniques to see if you can attract that talent that can get you to the next level. You know, we just went through a couple of them, but there's lots and lots of techniques that we lay out. So take a look at them inside this lesson.